Hello friends. As you all know, we are celebrating Fit Girl or Fit Guy Fall right now because it is fall and we're getting fit. I'm using these last less than 60 days of 2021, where has the time gone, to get on track to like starting out 2022, oh again, where has the time gone, on the right foot and like being solidly where I want to be come January, rather than getting to January and being like, okay, I'm gonna make all these resolutions and do all of the things and then have no motivation after like 3 days. Figure if I ramp up to it now, then come January 1st, I can like hit the ground running. So far, we're doing good. After taking like a month and a half off of the gym, tracking like kind of any fitness thing, I'm now back in the gym. I am tracking my food. My weight is starting to trend back down, so we're getting real close to finishing the cut. Hallelujah. I'm looking leaner than ever. I'm feeling better than ever. Well, maybe not ever, but like I'm getting back to feeling like excitement that I like to feel for my health and fitness journey, and feeling really good and strong and all of that good stuff. So we're on track and I'm excited about it. So since I am getting back into tracking macros and being consistent with that, I wanted to make a quick little video on all of my favorite like macro tracking tips and hacks. Now, I have a whole video about whether or not you should or should not track macros and who should and should not track macros. So I'll link that down in the description box below, because there's definitely some people that probably should not track. Like if you have a really unhealthy relationship with food and tracking makes it really bad, maybe not a good idea. But if you don't fall into that camp, there's a lot of really good reasons to track your macros, even if you're not trying to lose fat. First off, it's an amazing education tool. I think that anyone who can track macros should track macros for like 2 to 3 weeks. It just gives you so much insight into what you're putting into your body. If you've never tracked before, you are guaranteed going to learn so much. Like if you have no idea how much protein you're eating in a day, just start there. Track your food, see how much protein you're eating. Another great benefit of tracking is that it brings awareness to your food. So not only are you getting educated about what's in your food and what's going in your body, but it kind of forces you to really reflect objectively on what you're putting in your body. There's a lot of little food things that we kind of let slide under the radar when we aren't forcing ourselves to actually take an objective look at our diet. And then if you are actively trying to change your body, in my opinion, tracking macros is the most efficient way to do so. I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but it's definitely the most efficient. I do have a whole video on how to lose fat without tracking macros. I will leave a link to that down in the description box below, but if you can track, you're gonna get to your goals a lot faster than if you're trying to do it without tracking. The same for building muscle as well. If you're actively trying to eat in a surplus, oof, if you're not tracking, your body downregulates your hunger signals so fast that it feels like you're eating in a surplus when you end up eating in a deficit, because like 5 days in a surplus, your body's like, we're gonna slow the roll on the food intake, and then you're like full after like 1,200 calories and you think, oh yeah, I'm still eating in surplus. But no, you're not. You're not gonna build muscle like that. Before I get into the tips and hacks and all of that good stuff, I do have to say, and I'm really excited to say, that this video is sponsored by Myfitnesspal. Like what? I'm so excited to be partnering with them because it's the app that I've literally been using forever to track my macros. Myfitnesspal is like the OG macro tracking app. I've tried other apps. I tried like to consistently use them and always ended up going back to Myfitnesspal. I personally just find it a lot more intuitive, a lot more functional. It makes everything a lot easier. It's the fastest app to use, and like tracking macros is already kind of a lot. Like you don't want the app experience to be slowing that down even further. And I also love that the whole ethos of the brand is what I have literally been preaching forever, which is that there is no like one right answer for everyone. You can gradually learn through your personalized data what works best for you, because my version of healthy is going to look different from your version of healthy, and that's okay. The whole point is that it helps you find your best path to your goals. And that's also why I think tracking macros is so valuable, just to learn about yourself, because you can use it to get insights into your sleep, into your energy, into your stress. Like for me, something that using Myfitnesspal helped me realize a couple years ago was how much better I function with not on a low carb diet, but just lower-ish carb compared to like the average, and higher-ish fat. Like I just feel better when I have a higher fat to carb ratio than like most people do. And I would have had no idea if I hadn't been tracking, because I wouldn't have been able to literally see the data that says like, I'm thinking I had a good day. I look at the data, oh, I had more fat today. I had, you know, less focus this day. I had more carbs this day. Like it's makes it so easy. And the premium version is even cooler. It gets you so much customization within the app. You can even choose it to not be like a calorie focused dashboard. It can focus specifically on macros or like things that are more important for heart health, or you can like pick what key figures you want to appear on like the top of your dashboard, which is super helpful. It also has workouts and meal plans. You can be friends with people, so you can build a little support community within the app. It's great. I love it. I've been using it for literally at least 8 years now, maybe 9 or 10. So like I said, super excited to be working with them. MyFitnessPal does way more than just track calories. If you want to get the support that you need to reach your health goals and unlock all the amazing customization features like I did, you can sign up for your premium membership today if you go to misfit.myfitnesspal.com and use the code MISFIT. You will get a 1-month premium membership for free. I'll leave a link down in the description box below. Go check it out. And without further ado, my top tips and tricks and hacks for macro tracking. So to cover the basics first, I do have a whole video about how to actually determine your accurate maintenance calories instead of letting some random calculator on the internet determine what you should be eating based on what it thinks, based on its algorithm, which is not your body. Your body is not the internet's algorithm. So if you have literally no idea what your maintenance calories are, start there. I also have a video about how to find your perfect macros. It involves going through a little process of tracking, changing things up, tracking, changing things up, and just ultimately getting you to the macros that are going to make you feel your absolute best. So I'll leave a link to that down in the description box below too. And lastly, I have a whole video, step-by-step, how to track macros, featuring MyFitnessPal. So if you have any questions about how to use that app, that's the one that I use there. That video walks you through the basic questions of should you weigh things raw or cooked, how to use the tare function to make weighing things easier, lots of things like that. So if you have no idea how to track macros, watch that video. Actual tip/hack number 1 is aim for a weekly average, not a precise macro count day to day. Unless you're literally down to like the last 5 or 10 pounds, or you're literally trying to like shred for a bikini competition, trying to be super precise day to day is not gonna be any more beneficial or more efficient for you than hitting a weekly average. And aiming for a weekly average gives you so much more flexibility with your day-to-day intake. And it also helps you stay a little bit more in tune with your body. You can listen to your hunger cues a little bit more. So days that you are less hungry, you can eat a little bit less. Days that you are a little bit hungry, you can eat a little bit more. And in my opinion, this makes it a lot more sustainable and also helps you kind of stay more in tune with your body so that when you do transition away from tracking macros, you haven't completely lost touch with what your body's trying to tell you. I also have a whole video on that, as well as a macro averager tool spreadsheet thing that you can download for free and use to hit a weekly average. So if you're curious about how to do that, I go into that in that video. The second big thing that I want to mention, because this is where a lot of people get tripped up, is don't let the numbers scare you. This is where a lot of people go wrong with tracking macros, is they'll eat like 400 calories in the morning for breakfast and then be like, oh my god, I only have this many calories left. And then it's just kind of a spiral of trying to save up calories, feeling restricted, and then ending up not being able to hit your calories because you end up binging because you feel restricted. Here's the secret. If you have like 1,000 calories for breakfast, I can almost guarantee you will not think about food until dinner. You will be full, you will not feel deprived, you will not feel restricted, you will be happy, you will be able to focus on things, you will have energy to get a really good workout, and then you'll get to dinner and you'll be able to eat a reasonably sized dinner, have a nice little dessert, and not be so food focused throughout the whole day because you're starting your day off not restricted. You might think, oh my god, Marissa, 1,000 calories for breakfast, you're ridiculous. No. My chocolate Frosty bowl, my favorite breakfast on the planet, when I make it on the low end, 750 calories. When I make it like with all the goods, 900 to 1,000 calories. I eat it, I love it because it's a chocolate Frosty bowl and oh my god, that's delicious. And then about 8 hours later, I'm hungry for dinner. And this brings me to several other points that I want to cover when it comes to maintaining a good relationship with food while looking at the numbers. A good way to frame tracking in your head is to look at it as a tool. Tracking is a tool, intuitive eating is a tool. Everything is just a tool to get you to where you want to be, and you can use it however you want to. If someone hands you a hammer and a birdhouse and says, destroy this birdhouse, you have multiple options. This is a really bad analogy, but you have multiple options of what to do with that hammer. You can take the hammer and use the flat end of the hammer and just smash it. You can also take the bendy, pry end of the hammer and like pry it apart. You can also throw the hammer away and throw the birdhouse off a cliff. You can use a combination of a hammer and stomping on it. There's so many ways to use the hammer. as a tool to accomplish a goal. There may be more efficient ways and less efficient ways, but the only way that's going to work is the way that works for you, to use the hammer or track macros. If you're viewing tracking macros as a rule system rather than a tool, you're gonna feel confined. You're gonna feel like you have to be perfect about everything. You're gonna feel like if you don't do X, Y, Z, you're doing it wrong, and you might as well not do it and just do the opposite. But if it's a tool, you can play, you can experiment, you can use it however you want to, and it takes off the pressure of feeling like you need to do it perfectly. Another important thing to remember is that numbers don't define your worth. And usually people say this about the number on the scale. Also very true. But I also want to bring attention to the fact that the number of calories or macros that you're eating also doesn't define your worth. And especially when it comes to macros and calories, less is not more. Eating less doesn't necessarily give you faster results. Eating less doesn't mean you are more disciplined, more in control. You're not more anything because it's not a competition. The only person that matters in this situation is you. And even if you are trying to lose fat as fast as possible, it really is about finding the sweet spot with your deficit rather than just eating as little as possible. So remember, you are not a better person one day because you managed to eat less than on a day that you ate more. I've been thinking about making like a Q&A video on my relationship with food and tracking and intuitive eating and all of that. If you guys are interested in that, let me know down in the comments below because I can talk about this forever. And if you do want that video, like what kind of questions you have. The next thing that I want to give hacks and tips and tricks, etc. for is how to make macro tracking more convenient, because it can add a little bit of inconvenience to have to like track macros while you're cooking and all of that. So tip number one is if there's something that you know you're gonna eat every day or like want to have room for in your macros every day, track it the night before or the week before. Like every Sunday night, go input for the next 7 days into MyFitnessPal the things that you know that you want to have every day. So for me right now, tracking macros, I have two staples that I'm having almost every day. Number one is chocolate. So I will go log a little bit of chocolate in my snacks the morning of or the night before. The next thing I log is about a tablespoon of honey because I have been subsisting on tea lately and I like adding a little bit of honey to my tea. So when I start my day tracking my breakfast or whatever, I already have that logged in there because I know I will be consuming it. And so I know I can work around that and I don't get like surprised halfway through the day when I add a tablespoon of honey and suddenly my carbs shoot up. My next tip is to have a go-to meal that's really easy to manipulate when it comes to the macros. This ends up giving you so much more flexibility for your other meals because you can kind of have like whatever you want for the two other meals. As long as you have a meal in there, that's kind of gonna just even everything out. My favorite example of this is a burrito bowl because you have foods that are pure carb, pure fat, pure protein, and then you have foods that are a combination of two of those macros. So it's really easy to be like, okay, I've had X amount of whatever today, I have Y amount left, and so you can just adjust how much rice you put in your burrito bowl, how many beans you put in your burrito bowl, how much chicken you put in your burrito bowl to accommodate for whatever gaps you need to fill in with your macros. Or if you know what you're gonna have for breakfast and dinner, you can use your lunch to fill in the gaps. Having a fill in the gap meal takes a lot of stress away from trying to like be precise with everything throughout the day. Next tip is plan ahead. If you know you're gonna be eating out for dinner, like going to a restaurant with like friends or family or whatever, look up the menu ahead of time. Decide what you're gonna eat, put it into MyFitnessPal, then build the rest of your day around that. It saves such a headache of eating what you would normally have for like breakfast and lunch and snacks or whatever, then getting there and having to like plug in everything on the menu and see if it fits your macros. Like, no. Do that research ahead of time. Saves you so much time. And just in general, planning ahead so you know what your day is gonna look like so you don't get like surprised when you get to dinner and you don't have as many calories as you thought you did, or you have to eat twice as much as you thought you did, or your dinner doesn't have enough protein to get you to your protein goals. Like whatever it is, just know the general shape of your day, the general shape of your food plan, and that makes everything just go so much more smoothly. And I wanna finish this off with some general tips to help you just save time. Number one, this is like my favorite thing, cook in bulk. This doesn't mean that you have to meal prep. I personally cannot meal prep. Tracking doesn't make me feel restricted. Meal prepping, ooh, hecka restricted. Like if I know that I can only have like these specific things the whole day, I want to eat anything else. And I just get sick of it after like 2 days, like physically like just want to hurl. But if you batch cook, you don't have to have it every day, but you have 3 or 4 portions of something that are all the same macros. So you can have that saved as like a recipe in MyFitnessPal. It saves you cooking time. It saves you tracking time. Really good to just have around in a pinch. You can have it like whenever you want. So if you make 3 or 4 portions of something, you can stick 2 or 3 of them in the freezer and literally save it for like a month and you still have it on hand. It's convenient, it's ready to go, it's already tracked. Do the batch cooking. That's like my biggest tip. Another helpful thing is keep individual macro foods on hand. So like one food that's purely each macro. This makes it really easy when you have your very flexible meal planned into your schedule to make it more flexible, because you can just add a little bit more of the protein, a little bit more of the fat, a little bit more of the carbs, take out a little bit of whatever, and you're good. So my current go-to sources of each macro, if I just need to like sprinkle something in somewhere to just bump up my macros in some capacity, is deli turkey for protein. I get the Whole Foods deli turkey. I've gotten a lot of questions about the deli turkey that I get because a lot of deli meat is very processed. I don't get the processed version. I get literally like turkey shaved. For carbs, I like to have fruit on hand, banana, pear, apple, whatever. And then for fat, I love macadamia nuts or peely nut butter. So good. Or just peely nuts. Oh, yes. My fave. And then speaking of cooking in bulk, batch prepping, etc., pro tip, save those recipes to MyFitnessPal. If you're not doing that already, like, lifesaver. I have some of my go-tos saved. When I batch make my base for my smoothies, I follow the recipe that I kind of use every time, and then I just change the weights by a little bit. Like if it is off by a little bit, I'll change that and then just log that, and then I have it ready to go for like as long as I use that amount of the smoothie base that I just prepped. Like if I divide into 4, I know I have 4 servings, and so the macros are like calculated out for 4 days, and it's great. And the last thing for time is just practice. Practice, practice, practice. Keep measuring, weighing, tracking, and I promise you it gets faster. Like I said, I've been using MyFitnessPal for like 8 to 10 years now. Not like consistently every single day. I haven't been tracking every single macro for 10 years. But like whenever I have tracked, I have used MyFitnessPal. And it's so easy and quick for me at this point that it doesn't even feel like it's taking any extra time. But I know when you first start doing it, you gotta get used to it. When you start weighing and measuring things, like that process in itself can feel overwhelming. I promise, it gets faster, gets easier, becomes intuitive, just becomes second nature. It'll be easy. Just like working out, when you put in the time and effort up front, you get the payoff a lot more long term. So those are my tips and tricks and hacks to tracking macros to make your life a little bit easier. These are all things that I do to make my life tracking easier as I go through Fit Girl Fall and get back on track with the tracking and the working out and the generally loving the health and fitness journey thing. If you guys have any more tips and tricks and hacks, please leave them down in the comments below. Do make sure you snag your free trial of MyFitnessPal Premium if you want it, link in the description box. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. It really does support me and my channel. I really genuinely appreciate it. Please share this video with your friends, your family, and your neighbors. If you want to see more videos from me all about health and fitness, you can check them out over here. See future videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell so you get notified when I post a video, and I will see you very soon. Bye!